near-term back-to-school plans? What future will our students be having? Here to chat with us about how technology will do the heavy lifting, we have with us Dan De Guzman, founder and CEO of CloudSwyft. Good afternoon, Dan.
Good afternoon, Just. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, can you give us a preview first? What do you think will be the future trend here in terms of education in the Philippines? What do you think will be the prolonged medium here, especially with a lot of schools still going virtual and remote? So what do you think would be the main medium here for parents, students, and teachers?
Yeah, so thanks for that, Just. So number one, here in the Philippines, as you know, the Commission of Higher Education made that announcement that flexible learning is here to stay. And there's a great opportunity for higher education institutions, not just the colleges and universities, but also K-12, senior high school, junior high school, to be able to innovate further in terms of the tools and the cloud-based platforms that they use in providing these solutions. So number one, I think micro-credentialing or massive open online course programs that can be incorporated into their existing curriculums would be very rampant in the programs in the higher education institutions, most especially offering future-ready skills that can be incorporated into curriculums in computer science, information technology, business as well. Second is, as you know, that students nowadays, they don't go to the physical campuses and they don't go to the physical computer lab facilities. So they don't have an access to those physical computer lab environments that they go to whenever they do their lab classes. So with the use of, let's say, for example, one of our products, CloudSwyft Virtual Labs platform, that is actually widely used right now across the Asia Pacific region as well. Institutions and universities actually use that platform in order for us to digitally transform this physical desktop lab hardware into highly accessible anytime, anywhere virtual lab environments that the students can access at the comfort of their home whenever they're doing their lab classes online. So apart from all of these standard learning management systems and conferencing tools that, you know, the universities and institutions have already invested in since the pandemic situation happened last year. With the post-pandemic situation happening right now, it becomes a long-term innovative digital transformation journey for them to be able to embrace more tools that actually extends and enhances the experience on learning for the students, not just siloed by them just be able to access classes and subjects online or courses online, but for them to be able to also access lab environments with the absence of the physical lab computer facilities. They can access these lab environments and standardize levels the play field for all of the students with these virtual lab environments that are highly scalable and highly accessible by all of the students, regardless of the hardware that they use.
But Dan, looking back at the past year since schools went online or virtual when it comes to education here or schooling, how do we fare now compared to other countries, especially when it comes to the use of these tools that you have just mentioned?
Well, I think the universities nowadays, and even you would be surprised, like even K-12 institutions are even much more open into much wider type of use of platforms. Like, as we know, since last year, learning management systems become a mainstream. But now more and more advanced tools and platforms that are cloud-based applications that actually enables them to increase these learning experiences becomes even more mainstream as well. Apart from the learning management system and other tools, and even the use of Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Classrooms and whatnot. But apart from that, additional tools such as these virtual labs platforms, micro-credentialing platforms, massive open online course programs for future-ready skills, those are the things that completes that entire package and program and solution for the institutions. So it's not just about the learning management systems anymore. Nowadays, the Philippine institutions have started to embrace these tools. You would see a lot of private institutions using them as well. Their knowledge in terms of how innovative that they can be or how more innovative that they can be are actually being extended. So I think I would say we are still at par at the moment as well. Our educators are becoming more creative because of these technologies and these solutions, wherein it allows them to also be a master of these tools, right? So it's not just about them creating curriculums and classroom content, but they are able to become technologists as well and creators because of these tools that allows them to actually be creative on their craft as educators. So that reinvents their role as well and responsibility. So that becomes a very interesting factor of how the Philippine-based institutions are embracing this, both K to 12 and higher education.
But you also see this working across the board here, especially geography-wise. I mean,
Yes.
we're talking about areas outside Metro Manila and other metropolitan areas in the country here. You have a lot of issues here, connectivity for one. There are also, of course, security concerns. So you see this working across all regions here in the Philippines.
Yeah, so for other regions in the Philippines, I think a lot of organizations are actually joining hands together, the private sector and the public sector working together to make sure that we're going to be able to bring the best experience of these solutions even in remote areas. So in terms of bandwidth, for example, there's a lot of telco companies in the Philippines that actually works closely with the private sector of education technology companies like CloudSwyft that actually allows remote areas to access these kinds of technologies, innovations, and bundles those kind of infrastructure to provide that kind of level of accessibility and network ability for them to be able to access these tools. And at the same time, functionalities and features that can actually be built upon these solutions that helps learners to have alternatives and options if ever, let's say, for example, there's an outage or there's an internet bandwidth connection issue in your place or in your location, you would be able to still utilize, you should be able to still access these tools in the absence of that by number one, making some part of the functionality wherein you would still be able to access content offline. Number two, having these virtual lab environments persistent, dedicated for each of those students. For example, if let's say for example you've experienced an outage and then you got disconnected with your lab environment at home, then it doesn't really you don't have to worry about getting back to it and repeating what you've all done. You can just easily get back to it because it's persistent, it's dedicated for you. Once the network is back up, then you can still access your virtual lab environment for you to continue on performing your lab exercises. Now, on the security side, that's a very interesting question, Jas, because nowadays that with the pandemic situation and all of these tools and platforms that are being used by universities, cybersecurity is of a concern, right? So number one that the institutions have started to do are multi-factor authentication, right? So MFA is a very important part of the practice or best practices nowadays, wherein platforms like us, for example, we make sure that we integrate into the existing multi-factor authentication processes of the universities so that the user accounts are not necessarily being created separately, but it's already embedded into their existing email services so that it's being managed by their IT teams and they have that kind of level of comfortability and convenience when it comes to security. The second thing that will be very important and I have seen being started or being done by the institutions here in the Philippines is embracing upskilling internally for cybersecurity awareness of their internal IT staff. So that will be very important for them in order for them to implement their own internal cybersecurity awareness within their educational organizations.
And now, lastly, Dan, before we let you go here, tell us more about your contract with Bina Nusantara University, and now you have, of course, a contract as well with Dito CME called Luna Academy. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, sure. So let me go first with our one of our largest prominent university deals with Indonesia, Bina Nusantara University. So we've provided them an innovative solution with our product. So CloudSwyft is an education technology company and started here in the Philippines since 2018. But we were able to we were able to actually also expand across the Asia Pacific region. And Bina Nusantara University, along with our partnership with Microsoft Indonesia and education sector there, we've started with that one, because Bina Nusantara University is one of the most prominent universities. We've provided with over 7,500 students on a per semester basis the use of our cloud-based virtual labs platform. We're in across all of their 5 campuses. They're able to they're able to provide those those environments for them, for their students on a per semester basis, for them to they can access these lab environments. Now, the most exciting thing that we're also working on at the moment is our local joint venture with DITO CME, which is, I think everybody knows that is the ones, the third telco in the Philippines, the DITO community, which is owned by DITO CME Holdings. We formed this joint venture, Luna Academy, wherein we provide upskilling and reskilling opportunities targeted for Filipino learners across the country. We partnered with technology global giants such as Microsoft, Alibaba Cloud, Amazon Web Services to combine all of these technology course programs to upskill and reskill Filipinos. And together with DITO CME, we've also, we have this mission and vision for Luna Academy to provide these programs that, imagine it's like, if everybody is aware or familiar with Coursera in the US, wherein, if Coursera has Harvard and MIT offering their course content into the public, Luna Academy is like, as we say, is like a localized Coursera in the Philippines, wherein basically we provide a platform that also partners with local top-tier premier universities. So we also have an integration partnership with JobStreet for job matching for all of those upskilling and reskilling programs that the learners would be able to take and complete. And then that also completes the cycle of like, okay, once I'm done with upskilling myself in data analysis of learning from Microsoft program on Luna Academy, then after that, I would be able to actually apply for a junior data analyst role, wherein it's integrated along with the JobStreet integration that we have. And then we partnered with, like I said, local university content as well. We've got Andron colleges, Andron Extension, and there's a lot more exciting top tier universities to follow as we announce it in the public in the coming weeks.
All right, definitely something to look forward to. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Again, Dan De Guzman, founder and CEO of CloudSwyft. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
And those are the biggest